I've been talking a lot about releasing toxicity and, you know, that we need to release the toxic energy. If we want to create abundance and manifest in our lives, we have to, do a lot of grounding, a lot of releasing work. Even the earth herself is releasing toxic energy. But what are some signs that you're in a toxic relationship? Sometimes we don't realize how toxic the relationship was until we're out of it. And then we can look back. And a few signs that you are in a toxic relationship is a big one is if you feel like you have to walk on eggshells every time you're in the presence of that person. Like you're always nervous that you're going to say something that might set them off, or something may be taken out of context, or something may be used against you. You always feel an unease that in their presence, right? But you can't quite pinpoint it. That's a big sign that you're in a toxic relationship. Obviously, another is you can't be yourself. If you can't be yourself and you have to pretend to keep the peace, and you can't speak and say the way you're feeling because it gets turned and used against you, then yeah, that is a sign that you're in a toxic relationship. Now, I'm mostly thinking of romantic relationships, but this applies in friendships too, right? Another example of being in a toxic relationship is you're doing all of the work and they're doing none of the work, right? They're contributing nothing and you are doing all of it. And when you say, I want to spend time with you, I want us to, be together, I want us to talk about our feelings, you get shut down, right? You get shut right down. That is a big sign that there's toxicity there, right? Because if you're in a nurturing relationship, any kind of a relationship, the person who you're in relationship with should want to know your thoughts, your feelings, your perspective on things. And if you get shut down all the time, then that is a sign of toxicity. Now, especially for romantic relationships, but this happens in friendships too, jealousy is a huge red flag for toxicity. If you're with somebody and they are constantly monitoring where you are, what you're doing, you feel like you're being, grilled, like who you're with, and accused of things that you're not doing, that is very, very toxic. Because healthy relationships, there's trust there. There should be no, reason for you to be grilling your partner about where you are, right? And if there's jealousy there, you have to ask yourself why. And this comes from both sides, right? If you're being like, I know they have these tracking things now in apps. If your spouse is like tracking wherever you're going, that's like a red flag. Or if they're putting cameras around your house, like the inside of your house, that's another red flag. But also a thing that we don't always realize that is a signal that we're in a toxic situation is if you're checking your partner's phone looking for something, then there's toxicity there. Because when you're in a trusting relationship, you don't need to be looking and snooping through your partner's emails, text messages, phone number, like phone. And if you notice that they get a text and they read it and then they turn their phone over and you get that feeling like you can't trust, if you have that feeling you can't trust, it's already toxic. Because people who are in loving, trusting relationships don't feel that way. So these are just some of the things that I've been thinking about as I've been talking in the last handful of videos about releasing the toxicity in our life so we can create the space and the abundance for what we want. And that includes loving relationships in all kinds of relationships. All right. I'll see you next time.